Okay, please, can you see my screen? Hello?
Yeah,
Hi.
hello.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
see.
okay, great.
Can you enlarge it a bit? Is it possible to enlarge it a bit?
Okay, let me try and see. Is it okay? No. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah,
It looks
is the screen large enough?
yeah, it looks good now.
Okay. All right. Okay, so my name is Prince Bafweji. I think the rest, Freeman, my good friend, has taken care of that. So before we even go through the CV writing itself, there are some few things I would want to clarify before we continue. First, the definition I heard of one of our own defining CV as an academic document. CV is actually a professional document instead of being an academic document. And it is not just a list of the things you have done or the schools you have attended or the degrees you've accumulated over the years, but rather a CV is just a simple document that tells your employer who you are. So telling your employer who you are would include the schools you might have attended, the degrees you have accumulated over the years, and also how those things have shaped you. So that is one thing that you have to know about CV. And another thing is that we do not write CV. You should take note of that. It is not just CV writing, but rather we build CV. CV is built, it is not just written. So it is not an essay or a prompt that you are responding to that writes a letter to seek for an employment or write a letter to cover a certain topic. Rather, it is something that is built. It is something that is built. That means it takes time, it takes a lot of effort. And so take note of that. Especially if you are still a student, then you have one of the most important and unique time to commit to building a CV. So that is one thing that you have to know. And then another thing that you have to also note about CV is that it doesn't give job. A CV does not give you job. Let's take note of that. The CV actually invites you for an interview. The major thing that the CV does for you is to invite you for an interview. So what we are trying to say is that 99.99% of employers will not just look at your CV to offer you a job. They will not just look at your CV and call you to come start work, but rather will look at your CV to invite you for an interview or to invite you to further know you. So basically, if you are looking for a job and most of the time you get the interview, but you are not able to progress to being shortlisted or finally being offered the chance, it means that your CV is doing its job, but the major problem you are facing is nailing the interview or being able to speak to the CV. Another thing you have to also know is that
Hello. Are we together? Anybody in the house? I'm sure maybe his network. I am sure maybe it's the network that disturbs him. Are we getting something?
Yes, please.
Are we getting something?
Yes, please.
He's clarifying a lot of things. So let's take notes. I say be with your notes, be with your jotter, write some things down. You can write on your phone too, but your phone can get missing at any time. It can get lost. It's not my prayer that it happens, but as human as we are, things happen to us always, which we are not prepared. So get a note, get a jotter to put these things inside. He said a CV is not just an essay to write, but you build it. You build it, meaning when you write it for the first time, after some years or after some months, you would have to update it. That is what you mean by building. Because when you are building, as soon as you lay the foundation, the next time you start building, the next month you start doing something about it. That's what he mean by the CV is not written by building. Are you getting the point? The CV is not written by what? Building. So when you start now, maybe after this class, you want to have one for yourself, you go and write it. Now, next year, from the time you write the CV till next year, when you have done something, you would want to go and update certain things. And when you write it down, things that you have now that are relevant, by next year, those things may not be important again. They may be losing value. Maybe this year when you are writing the CV, you have done something which is your biggest achievement. Then you put it there. But next year, you might have done a bigger one. So updating your CV regularly is what he terms as what? Building your CV, but not what? But not writing. Building it. Every year, every month, you have to update your CV. When you have a CV, every month or every 3 months, when you have done something significant, you would have to what? Go and update those things. So it gets to what? Its best version. Okay. That's what he's trying to say, which I think you are all putting notice.
Papa.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. So I think I need to step in as whilst he comes back. Maybe his network is worrying him. Maybe I need to step in before he comes back. So in the sessions, we'll be looking at what the CV is, the main sessions of a CV, the importance of a CV. What are the importance of a CV? Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Type in the chat box for me to see. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we're looking at what is a CV, the main
Yes.
sessions of a CV, the importance of a CV, the do's. I think one person asked a question about that. The do's and don'ts on what CV, and how to format your CV, how to format it. If you have done small Word, Microsoft Office Word, you might have come across this particular word, formatting, how to format, how to do formatting. Like he was discussing, a CV is what? A professional document. It's a professional one that encompasses a lot of things. So when you are formatting, you have to use professional. How you would have done what? How you would have done it professionally. So a CV is what? A summary of one's life. It's a summary of what? One's life. From day zero, from day one when you were born to the day we are now. So it's a summary of your life. So what he meant by building is that after today, when you've done something, you would want to edit the CV. That makes it what? Building the CV. So a CV is a summary of one's life. So what the summary includes? The summary includes the personal and educational information. The summary includes work history or work experience. The summary includes your leadership experience. The summary should talk about those things. It is an official working document required by what? Many employers, scholarship authorities, and for higher educational purposes. If you have an aim to go for higher education, if you have the aim to go for higher education, you would have to what? Have one. If you're having aim to have a higher education, you need to what? Get one CV, because it's a summary of what? One's life. And this includes what? Personal details or personal information, educational information, work experience or work history, leadership experience. It's an official working document, as he said, required by what? Many employers. Is it only employers that require CV? No. Scholarship organizations or donor organizations, and also for higher educational purposes. After high school, you want to go to uni. Many unis in Ghana do not require CV. But if you are planning to go outside, they require the CV. If you are planning to go for training, some training will require the CV, because it's what? A summary of your life. The CV is what? A summary. It's a summary. So that summary should take notice of what? The personal detail, the educational details, your work history, your leadership and politics, your community engagement. Yes. And then for higher education, people who want to go for higher education, we need a summary of your life. The educational authorities are looking for a summary of your life, not just come to us that you want what? You want to come and study. We want to know the summary of things you have done in your life. That's what the employer is looking for. That is what the university authorities are looking for. That is what scholarship authorities are looking for. They want to see the summary. So what are the main sections of a CV? As young as we are, the CV, it should be dynamic. That is what he's mentioned by building. Because if you have written it, you would have written it once and move on. If you are writing the CV, you might have just written it once and what? Move on. But when you are building, it means
Sorry.
every year, every 3 months,
But
you would have done something
okay,
new.
so
Then
maybe
you
I'll
add
take
it
it.
up.
Maybe the test.
Okay. So the CV, the main sections on the CV should have your
Well,
personal
I don't know.
details, your educational
So you miss it.
information, your work.
So
Now at our level,
who's for 7?
now
And
at
for
our
7
level, you don't have work experience, but rather what you have could be internship experience,
Awesome.
voluntary
They're all there.
experience,
And for
work
oh,
experience,
okay,
or
this one is there.
voluntary experience. So in that regard, So in that regard, you talk about internship experience or voluntary experience you have done. Internship experience or voluntary experience you have what? Engage yourself. Then there should be a session for leadership and community engagement. Your leadership, your leadership role you play. There should be a session for leadership and what? Community engagement. Some people will say leadership and politics. Some people will also put it different way. So the CV is what? Dynamic. It should be changing every 3 months or every 6 months or every year. You should do something to what? To come and what? Edit your CV, update it. Then that is what? Building. Then the CV should also talk about your skills, your IT skills, your non-IT skills, your and the competence, things you can do that can bring you your value. It should have a session like that. Then the languages you can speak, and the CV should also have referees or references, people that we can talk about, people that they can look out for. If you are applying for scholarship and the scholarship asks you to submit a CV, the CV should have some prominent people in the society that should be on your CV that the scholarship community or the scholarship authority can look up to. The employer should see some people behind your CV they can speak up to. So if I want to employ you, you said you are a mathematics teacher, you can teach mathematics. I should be able to confirm from somebody from either your institution or your previous life who would say that yes, this gentleman is good in maths. He taught maths in my school before. So that is what the reference or the referees, and the languages you can speak or you can understand. You need to let the employer know. What's the importance of the CV? It's an official document. It is required by many employers and schools. So if you want to go for higher school, it requires in some, not all. But if you are going foreign, all or most of the foreign schools require your CV. They want to see the summary of your life, so they know where they can build up or they can continue building. It shows or it reveals how organized someone is. So for example, when you submit your CV for interview, it reveals how organized you are because they can see it from there. It helps to apply for opportunities. And the CV, the first thing it does is what? It invites you to an interview. When you write a good CV, the employer look at it, the organization look at it, then they say that let's invite this particular person to the interview. That's how neat or how organized your CV is. And it reveals a lot about you. As soon as you submit your CV, we know how you are thinking. We know how you view life. We know how you see things. So the do's on the CV, the do's, what are the do's? What are the things you should do on your CV? Yes. Before you do the CV or before you submit your CV, you need to read about this opportunity, the scholarship opportunity, the school you are applying for. We need to read about it. So when you read about it, then